Today I'd like to talk about the Adult Swim series Moral Orel. I got into it in 2019, right before the fandom had a sudden surge in popularity. While it was surprising, it was great to see the show getting attention. It certainly deserves it. A lot of love went into the series, giving me a variety of angles through which I could approach it. I wanted to find new ground to tread, and so I decided that for this video, I would focus on Moral Orel's world building, as in, how did the creators make Moralton come to life? All TV shows are filmed in controlled environments to some degree, but for animation, this goes even further. Since Moral Orel is stop motion, the creative team crafted every set and every character, both in miniature and on a larger scale. This level of control gave them the ability to include lots of little details. These details often serve the humorous tone of the story, but more broadly, they help to create a sense of lived-in community. Moral Orel by no means takes place in reality. Rather, it's set in its own world, one which exaggerates aspects of American society for the purposes of satire. Not every detail in the show is there for thematic reasons. The creative team was eager to turn every single prop into a joke. Some of them add to the world building, and others are simply there for the amusement of the animators. The show is littered with stop-motion animation jokes, with many characters being named after elements of the process. The show also uses small details for character building purposes. For instance, bedroom settings establish characterization. Kim Latchkey has cheerleading posters hung up. Orel's bedroom is filled with sports gear and Christian paraphernalia. Shapey is kept in a storage closet to show how he's neglected. Blaberta's childhood bedroom is disordered due to her mental anguish, and the bedroom she shares with Clay as an adult is split down the middle to reveal their psychological and sexual divide. These details help make Moralton feel more like a real place and give the audience an idea of who the characters are. With all that out of the way, it's important to consider the exact nature of Moral Orel's satire. It's clear to any viewer that the series is intending to parody Christianity. However, what makes the show work so well is its specificity. It isn't just any brand of Christianity it's commenting on. Moral Orel was released during the Bush era, when Christianity was being used to justify regressive policies at home and war abroad. The president was raving about ultimate evil and ancient biblical prophecies. Evangelical Christians were a powerful political bloc aiming to ban abortion, oppress minorities, and censor any dissenting opinions. The show's aesthetics and political landscape have led to some confusion as to its time period. I've seen people say that it's set in the 1950s, but this is not the case. It's true that the show takes from the 1950s, with showrunner Dino Stamatopoulos claiming the sitcom Leave It to Beaver as an inspiration. We have to ask, why would he use this classic series to parody the political climate of the 2000s? Moral Orel is specifically targeting American WASP culture, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Many WASP communities are nostalgic for the 1950s. They want to take the country back to what they see as a simpler time, a time of social order. Moralton is also a small town in Middle America, a setting often untouched by cultural progress. With all this in mind, the show's aesthetics are meant to feel out of step with modern times in order to underscore how backwards Moralton really is. It takes no time at all for the show to get to its satire. As noted in the behind-the-scenes materials, the globe in the opening sequence has only one country on it, the United States. Even Canada is left off the map, as in this world, America is the only place that really exists. Moralton is meant to be in the dead center of the country, implying that it's the heart of the nation. In the episode Genuses, this theme is taken a step farther, with the implication that in the future, the entire country will become Moralton. The town itself has a circular design, and at its center, and thus the center of America, is the church. To quote production designer Jed Hathaway, all roads in Moralton lead to the church. Its power is inescapable. For further effect, the church was built with forced perspective, making it look taller and longer than it actually is. Outside the church, there's an announcement bulletin, which is of course used to slip in jokes, often lampshading the hypocrisy and falseness of American Christianity. For instance, yes, we lied about Santa, but Jesus is real. From the sign, we also learn the church's name, God's favorite Protestant church, highlighting how some Christians use their religion to feel superior to others. Reverend Putty's office looks like the workspace of a bored white-collar worker rather than a man of the cloth. He clearly hates his job and his boss, too, a questionable position for the supposed spiritual leader of the town. Also inside the church is the repressional, a clever play on the Catholic confessional. Rather than confess their sins, Moralton residents are advised to repress them, repeating chants such as, "It wasn't me," or "I blame my father." The local bar seems to serve a similar purpose, as it's named for Geddes and is the place where residents go to drown their sorrow and guilt. Clay's study is another crucial setting. It almost seems to be a different place altogether from the rest of the brightly lit Puppington home. It's filled with taxidermy animals and guns, indicating Clay's interest in hunting. It's in this imposing setting that Orel receives his spankings and lectures. On the walls of the room, signs can be seen, often lost commandments, which hint at how Clay plays fast and loose with his religion. Also hung up is the Christian adage, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." This quote is still used to justify child abuse, making it an important addition to the study. There are frequent jokes in the show about Christian science denial, including young Earth creationism and rejection of evolution. Despite the fact that there's supposed to be separation of church and state in America, these attitudes are front and center in the school. On one wall hangs an Evolution of Man poster, showing the development of humanity from Bible man to Dark Ages man to Wild West man, all the way to clean-cut man. On the chalkboard, scientific and mathematic facts are twisted to have religious meaning. Moralton School is not a place of learning, but instead a place of ignorance. The library is the home of Miss Censordoll. Censordoll is used by the creators to lampshade conservative Christian attempts to censor anything even mildly offensive to their tastes, while also getting in some digs at federal broadcasting standards. The sign over the library door reads, "Purifying Literature Since 1818, reminding the audience of the long history of censorship." One can imagine that a great many books were banned in Moralton. The book depository is a trash can fire, revealing how little the librarian thinks of knowledge. The Before Oral special includes a funny background joke which plays on these themes. Censordoll's desk has a bunch of books on it, all with the word Dick replaced with Bob. The original intent of the work doesn't matter, only that so-called dirty words shouldn't be seen by anyone. Moral Orel is well aware that the censoring of the profane does not make people any more sacred. Moralton is just as dirty as any other town, if not more so due to its hypocrisy and suppression. Interestingly enough, the least Christian setting of the show is the one where Orel ends up feeling at home, the sex shop Buried Pleasures. He helps Stephanie out around the place, making it a frequently visited location. The production team put lots of little touches into the set. The items for sale have titles like Sinning Cream, Depravity Straps, Condemn Condoms, Obscenity Plugs, Sodomizing Jelly, and Fornicator Ring. At the back of the store, there's a sign reading, "All items subject to 80% immoral state tax." But despite all the deterrence, Moralton is a town full of people ready to get nasty. Many characters are involved in affairs and otherwise unchristian relationships. The episode Help provides more insight into the marriages of Moralton. Young Blaberta spends the episode trying to snag a man so that she won't feel worthless and left out. However, we see that the woman she's jealous of, Millie, is getting married to Coach Fakey, soon to be Principal Fakey. From the episode Repression, we know that Fakey will end up cheating on his wife. Marriage, held up on such a high pedestal in Moralton, is more often than not an exercise in misery. Multiple details in Help work to establish this. The car that the Fakeys drive away in has a bumper sticker which has been half removed. It reads, "Bachelor for Life," hinting that Fakey never planned to get married. In addition, the license plate spells out "No foreplay." In Moralton, straight marriage is meant to be the one acceptable outlet for sexuality, and yet it seems to be unsatisfying for all involved. Along with the town's abysmal gender relations, there are lots of details establishing their bigotry and other regards. In Season 1, we see that interracial marriage is used as a haunted house attraction for Moralton's children. The second season reveals that all non-white locals live on the outskirts of town in ethnic neighborhoods, named after their food offerings. The Puppingtons treat excursions into these areas as exciting and dangerous, like riding a roller coaster, perfectly capturing white America's fear of and fascination with foreignness. Similarly, in the episode The Lord's Prayer, Clay and Art Posabule listen to Non-Threatening Negro Comedy Volume 6 from Eddie Benign, Blackness which has been rendered so toothless as to be palatable. The school's mascots are the Vanishing Indians, a jab at the American practice of using racist iconography. It's also a reference to the genocidal history of the United States, which Morrilton residents no doubt celebrate. Notably, all depictions of Jesus in the show are white. White Jesus is so axiomatic in Morrilton that Jesus without blue eyes is unthinkable. Adam and Eve are also blonde and pale-skinned. White people are the universal standard, while all others are strange deviations. There are also a variety of references to the town's homophobia. It's so rampant that anti-gay songs play on the radio and are considered appropriate listening material for children. Abstinence also contains a funny detail. Orel and Dowie start the episode by waving goodbye to gay men, who leave on a vehicle called the Homophobus, bound for anywhere but here. It's widely known that conservative Christian communities are bigoted. However, Moral Orel accurately portrays them as anti-environment as well. When Orel and his friends go on scout camping trips, they use products called Uncle Toxie Log and Toxie Lighter to start a fire. Then their counselor suggests reading them a scary story called Attack of the Tree Huggers. Not only are the kids being poisoned, but they're being taught to be skeptical of anyone who campaigns against poison. In the episode Love, Clay spends the day fishing at a pond. However, the fish are brought in by a truck labeled Artificiary. All the fun outdoor activities enjoyed by the Puppingtons are actually fake, devoid of real connection to nature. Also in Love, we see Blaberta spraying the family's food with her cleaning products and later washing a lobster with soap. Her obsession with cleanliness was a running gag from the first season, but in season 2, the toxicity of her products is highlighted. Beyond poisoning her family, she also uses a bird repellent to kill animals out of the sky. Her products have questionable names, such as germ poison, life away, and murder dirt. While the use of toxic chemicals for cleaning and pesticides is a problem all over the world, it's certainly the case that conservative Christians are more likely to be actively anti-environment than the general population. Another thing that Moral Orel captures perfectly is the commercialization of Christianity. There is no religious bauble too cheap to be sold, no landscape that escapes from tacky Christian messaging. Principal Fakey installs ugly-themed playground equipment at the school. The Morrilton Zoo forces a lion and a lamb into cages next to each other to mimic a Bible passage. In one episode, the kids are taken to an exhibit humorously called Ripley's Believe It or Else. The Imitation Museum is full of factual inaccuracies and fake relics, all of which can be bought in the gift shop. Where other religions forbid vacuous depictions of their holy figures, the Protestants of Morrilton purchase Jesus Wiggleheads and play with supergod figures. Morrilton's radio broadcasts are of course Christian, airing right-wing and science denialist talking points. There's also a lot of fake Christian music featured in the show. Orel is a fan of the metal band Multiple Godgasm, which has lyrics like Burn in Heaven. At Christmas, a song about what to get Jesus for his birthday is actually a flagrant advertisement for a pizza joint. There's also the Christian folk band The Crucifolks, which has songs like Think with Your Heart. Even sports can't escape from Christianity. Morrilton holds praying bees, where the personal and sacred act of prayer is crassly commercialized. The entire town bets on Orel to defeat the other team, putting pressure on him and dampening the joy he finds in his religious beliefs. While I didn't mention every single detail in the show, I hope that this video demonstrates how Moral Orel's world building is used effectively for satire. And that's world building in the most literal sense, given that I didn't mention very much of the dialogue, focusing instead on details from the sets. If I left out one of your favorite gags, feel free to leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching!